Hi, welcome to Barefoot English. We are going to just be doing, this is going to be a relatively short video, just about 10 minutes long, on the topic of travel and festival. We'll see how many of the questions we finish, and then we'll complete them next week when we meet again. With Khan today, we're working on travel and festival. And since we're 1 week away from Christmas, the the season is already upon us, and then we're 1 month away from Tet, the Lunar New Year, and that's a much bigger celebration than Christmas. Although surprisingly, Christmas is a really big deal here, and it's always kind of surprised me because it's predominantly a Buddhist country. There is a small Christian or Catholic community in the South, in particular. We have more Catholics than I believe are in the North, although I don't know that for a fact. I do know that there are quite a lot of churches in our area region down here. So Christmas is a big deal. It's the subject I'll be teaching all week in school, which I'm kind of excited about because it's fun and we get to sing and do art and learn fun stories and learn about some of the nice customs of the holiday. So let's dive in and ask our first question. Do you like traveling?
Well, let me see. I'm keen on traveling. Um, yes, because firstly, maybe uh, in the next year, I will have to move to the big city to pursue my education, and moreover, I really love to go to the new places with my family to enjoy new things and have more experiences to fulfill my life, and I can have a chance to meet new people in Vietnam and even in the world.
Right. Um, this answer is pretty much the opposite of that. Not really, actually. I'm more of a creature of habit, someone who doesn't like changes to routine, a creature of habit. I think we've actually covered that before in previous conversations. This isn't the first time that this expression has come up. A creature of habit is someone who doesn't like changes to routine. I'm very much a creature of habit. I sit, where I like to sit at the river in the evening at dusk. I like to have my coffee in the morning on the river at the same place. I hate when they're closed on Sunday morning and I can't have coffee there. I end up having coffee somewhere else that uses the same coffee they use, but it's not as pleasant an environment. And it's just also a place of habit. It's where I go. It's where I like to go. So I'm usually not keen to change my daily routine. When I change it up, I often feel anxious and disoriented. Disoriented means not a clear mind. Disoriented means that you're like off kilter. Orientation is like a compass, right? A compass orients you, says you're facing north, right? So if you change your pattern, some people, when they change their pattern of what they do, they feel out of sync, out of whack, we call it, or out of balance, right? They're not in balance. They're disoriented. They're in a new place. Maybe they're shy. Maybe it's crowded. It's not the same environment that they're used to, and so they feel anxious. That can bring on anxiety. furthermore, I have a fear of airplanes and get car sick. So traveling just isn't for me. So this is somebody who like really just doesn't like to travel. They like we call them homebodies. They,
Homebody.
yeah, they love to be at home. They love their hometown. They don't really care about seeing other things. It just doesn't, it's not going to make them happier to go see new places. It would actually make them anxious and disoriented. For many Vietnamese people, and a low level of English skill often makes them very uncomfortable with the idea of traveling outside of Vietnam. And many of my students that I've taught, particularly adults, in the past few years, have been learning to speak English because of their desire to travel outside of Vietnam, and they've done it. I mean, they got to a point where they could go and they could travel. I had one student who traveled nearly around the world for over a year by herself, a woman, which for Vietnamese is a very, very big deal. Women generally don't travel by themselves. It's just not culturally, it's different. And she got her English level to a point, or we got her English level to a point together where she could travel anywhere and was successful at it. And she needed English to do that. Without strong English skills, traveling overseas can be very, very difficult, or overseas, out of Vietnam, for a Vietnamese person, it can be very difficult because you're very unlikely to meet somebody that speaks Vietnamese unless you're, in Cambodia, Laos, southern China, or Thailand. You might meet somebody that speaks Vietnamese, but you really use English to travel. So that sometimes can open people's minds. We'll do one more question and then we'll stop with this one. Do you often travel by air?
Travel by air? Well, to be honest, I don't, because if I want to go to travel by air, I have to have lots of money to uh, to do that. But I prefer go to travel on the train because I can yeah, I can observe what I see on the road, and then I can sleep. I can go to any places on the train, and it was so great, especially um, go to travel on the train for 2 days, especially when I return to my grandparents' hometown. So it's so nice.
Great, great. Again, this person really doesn't like to travel. Not at all. I try to avoid it at all costs, very seriously. All costs means I really try not to do it. At all costs, I do my best to get out of it. If I must travel, I will take some motion sickness medicine. Motion sickness medicine is medicine designed to help keep your balance in order so that you don't get sick from the movement. A lot of people get sick on boats or in cars or in airplanes, that moving so fast makes it upsets their body. It upsets their body. And go by car or train. So they avoid traveling by an airplane. I was once on an airplane on my honeymoon that came very near to crashing, meaning it almost was in an accident. So my phobia, a phobia is a strong fear. A phobia. People will say, I have a phobia of like claustrophobia is a phobia of being in small spaces, right? So yeah, some people, for example, can't live in an apartment building because they can't get into an elevator because the space is too small. So my phobia stems from, meaning it comes from, like the stem of a plant grows up and it has a stem. And then the leaves and the branches come off of that, right? You understand?
So,
So
stem?
like a plant has a stem. The stem is the main branch going up, right? And then things come off of that. So her phobia, her fear of flying, her fear of getting on an airplane comes from the fact that she was almost in an accident on an airplane. So when she did fly, the one time she got on a plane, it was not a good flight. It was a scary flight. And that reinforced her fears of flying. It made her more, it like increased her fear of flying because she was almost in an accident. She's like, oh God, that's just too scary for me. So that's what that stem is, the part where the flower grows out of. So it's that experience of the almost crashing that gives you a fear. When I was in my motorbike accident, right? And it was the first time I was in a real accident on a motorbike. I fell down a few other times, but those weren't really accidents. This was really like like an accident. I made myself the next day, even though I was in a lot of pain, I was hurting, my body hurt. I made myself get on my motorbike and drive. Wow. Yeah, and drive around. I made myself do it. Why? Because being in the accident scared me. And if I didn't get back on my motorbike and drive right away, the longer I waited, the worse the fear would be of driving again. You understand?
Yeah.
So in order to overcome my fear of driving, because now I'm scared of being in an accident, right? Because I was in one and it really hurts and it could have been worse. It could have been much worse for me or for the other people that were involved. I had to make myself get on my bike and drive. And I was terrified. I mean, I was literally like, my arms hurt. And all I did, the area we live in, all I did is drive all the way around the river road in a circle down to the bridge and then back again. And I just did that one. That's only like 2-3 kilometers, I think, maybe 2.5 kilometers. And when I got home, my arms hurt because I was holding the steering wheel. I was holding the handlebars so tight. And I was so tense, right? Because I was so scared. So then I parked and I was like, oh God, I gotta do it again. I gotta do it again. And I made myself drive all over town. All over town. I just drove in circles until I felt confident again.
Wow.
And then I was okay.
Wow.
But what's funny is that even today, even now, and this is now several months or since my accident, when I drive by the place where I had the accident, I get tense. Yeah, I noticed it. I noticed it the other day when I was driving to school. I was like, there's a bit of anxiety when I get near that place where I had the accident, and it's not even a dangerous place. It's not like a roundabout that's so scary and all of that. My accident was literally just on a straight road on the river road with not like it was like, you know, an out of the blue, you can't stop it accident. But to get over that phobia, because I have to drive, right? I've got to drive to school. I've got to drive to go grocery shopping. I can't just walk everywhere. It's too hot. It's too hard to carry things, right? Like you have to drive. So I had to overcome that phobia, that fear, and get back in the saddle, like riding a horse. Like if you get thrown off of a horse, you have to get back in the saddle and ride again.
Well, some of my friends has like I have a phobia of something, but finally they can't overcome like you did. So they, for example, my friend has a strong fear of swimming because the first time that she went to the swimming pool and then she fell down and then she remembered it and she never go to the swimming pool again. So, but she can't overcome like you. But so I'm really admire you about that.
Well, I didn't have a choice. I have to overcome it. I can't, you know, I can't say, okay, that's it. I'm not driving anymore because I have to go to school and I have to work and I have to, you know, I have to drive. Um, so, you know, I had to do it. I didn't have a choice of saying, okay, I'm not going to drive anymore. Right. Like that's it. I'm done. I'm selling my motorbike. Get me away from these things. Um, and, you know, am I a more careful driver? I don't, I don't, I think I drive now the same way I drove before. I'm careful, but accidents can happen where it really has nothing to do with you. You know, somebody can do something stupid on the road and you're in an accident. Like it doesn't matter how careful you are. And in fact, driving slowly and over careful is pretty dangerous here because you actually can get into more problems doing that. It's you have to keep up with the traffic. You can't, you know, you can't be scared. Um, but I also did buy shoes that cover my feet that I wear when I ride because I was wearing sandals in my accident and my feet got pretty cut up because of it. And so now I wear a shoe that covers my foot. So that's the only thing I changed. That's the only thing I really changed. But anyway, we're gonna stop on this one. So we made it to question 3, or made it through question 2, and we'll continue this next week. I hope you have a great week. I thank all of you for joining us on Barefoot English. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos in the future as I find the energy to make them. So
Yeah.
take care, Khan, and I will see you next week.
Right.